the last weekend in March, and although the sun is out, again we're back to temperatures around about the 10-12 degrees, so we're going to be in and out of the bees very, very quickly. We don't want to subject them to any cold temperatures. But what we've got to do today is, in anticipation of the really good weather next week, is put them into full-sized hive. We'll give them a little bit of a feed. We won't put any supers on because we don't want to catch any of that feed in the supers, and they'll just build up. And likelihood is we might get a super of honey later on in the year, but it's not what we are aiming for this year with these. These are all young queens that were bred by ourselves last year, and they just need a spot to start to expand. These are all bigger nukes. They need somewhere to move into, so from 6 frames up into an 11 frame full-size box. This is a beautiful site. It's one of our out apiaries. It was actually the first out apiary that we got. An out apiary is just somewhere away from home, really, that you keep bees. I think we had about 16 colonies in here. It's quite a low level site, does really well for spring honey. The bees really like it because it sets them up well for the winter. There's lots of ivy honey, which is not something that we harvest ourselves, but the bees really like it. We extract the honey at the end of August, but there's still nectar and pollen sources available after that. So we leave those for the bees in September and October, and it really only shuts down very early November here because we're so low. And as long as the bees can access it, they will do it. And sometimes, and I think some of the other sites I've got, it actually can cause you a problem because the bees have packed away so much stores. Come the early part of the year, and the queen wants to be out and laying, those cells are full of food. So you've just got to be careful sometimes. That's one part of the first inspections we do, just to make sure they're not honey bound as well, because they are a variety of bee that goes through the winter really frugally. So they do use stores up, but we will find completely both sides still full frames of honey on the outer of the nest. Great insulation, keeps them nice and warm. But it's not honey that we'll ever use. We'll always leave that for the bees. We're farther away than 3 miles, so these bees, once they've orientated to these spots, that's what we bring them here like 24 hours before. They'll have been out, they'll have done a flight, they'll realise they've moved, and this is now their new home. So when we put them into a new box, there'll be an initial bit of confusion because it'll look different, but they'll find it. We come at the end of the day, so they're all looking to get back into the hive, and they should go on from there. As long as the one person we need to make sure is still in there is Her Majesty, the Queen. As long as she's in, we'll have a good look for her to make sure she's in, and then the pheromones from the Queen will attract the other bees back to that site. So we have our polystyrene nucleus, put these here 24 hours ago, so there's a few bees flying at the minute and they're orientating to this bit of the stand. Because we've already got 6 frames within there, the box that I bring has only got 5 frames in. Each of the brood boxes that we have we use spacers as well. It's not to everybody's taste, but I really like them. I think it just gives that little bit of extra space for the quality of the comb. So these are 11 frame castellated spacers that we use. We've got 5 frames in here, 6 frames in the nucleus box, and they're literally going to slot in the same orientation. And then we'll feed them 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and they'll build out the nest. Keep an eye on it for a few weeks, and then if they really do really well with the queen, we'll then start to think about giving them some more space. A little bit of an inspection first, very quickly, because temperatures are not great today, but they're okay. Just making sure that the queen isn't on here. First sting of the evening. So we'll just move those off to one side. Ooh. So we put a floor on. As I say, they will be slightly confused, but they'll orientate themselves back to this space. We'll put that on there and take out a couple of these frames just to give us a little bit of extra space, because we don't want to be rolling bees particularly the queen, but all these need to go back in the same orientation. So this is a food frame, but as you can see, there's brood on one side of this, so the queen is expanding the nest out way more than 6 frames will allow her. And in fact, looking on this side as well, she's laying in here. So we picked an opportune moment. We'll put that one to the rear of our 6 frames. So we'll put that right at the back of those, and that gives us a little bit more space in here. So again, another frame with emerging bees on that side. We're keeping an eye out. Like I said, the important one to get in there, or to make sure she's in there, is the queen. Another frame of bees. They've still got stores in as well. Lots of nice white larvae and eggs as well. This is a perfect time for this hive to be moved across. You see, they've still got stores in, but they've got a really nice nest. These are all worker bees as well, which is females. That's good. Says the queen is fertile, still laying. This is a really good queen. She's laying out all this area here. They're putting pollen in on that side, and the queen is actually on this frame with a green dot, which is one of our home produced last year's queen. She's doing really well. She's laying up a storm. So we'll very gently, because we know where she is now, we'll put that one in there. The final frame they haven't actually done anything with, so that's foundation from last year, but they have some bees, so that can go anywhere really. There's nothing. We'll put that one to the back, and then we'll have a nice drawn comb, which gives the queen somewhere to lay immediately to expand. Another piece of foundation in the back, and then what I do is I put what's called drone comb, so it's the same foundation but the cells are slightly bigger, the imprints. Just keeps if they're going to lay male bees, then they layer them on this comb. Also incentivizes them to lay male bees, because our home apiary where we do all our queen rearing is about 3 miles this way. So if there's queens that are laying lots of males here, those are the ones that are going to be mating with the queens that we've reared at home. So we try and incentivize them. One of these in every single hive. So we know the queen's in, that's good. Her pheromones will be giving off, but there's a snail that didn't quite make it. Some bees in the bottom of here. I'm just going to tap those in. That's why we do it at this time of day, and then the natural inclination is to go back into the hive because it's getting towards the end of the day. So now we want to give them some food so they can draw out that foundation we gave them. So I'll put it on the top of the crown board. These feeders usually come with a plastic cupping, but if they're anything but perfectly level, and even so you get little puddles of syrup that's left inside the feeder. So what we'll do is, this is barley straw, it's long, it's uncut, it's been washed. You can buy this from pet supplies, but it gives the bees a little pathway to walk on. So we put the syrup directly in here. This floats on the syrup, and the bees will come up through this hole and they'll literally clear out every little last bit of sugar, so they end up dry and don't ferment and go off. So we put that over the centre there, making sure that we can see bees through the hole because we want them to be able to come up. This is 1-to-1 sugar syrup that we made in a previous video, showed you how we do that. And literally we don't need to go mad, don't need to fill the feeder up. We're doing about, I guess, 2.5, 3 litres. One of the things I would say is never cheap out on the straw. Make sure it's good quality straw, because you don't want it to ferment. But also make sure there's a reasonable amount in. If you don't put enough in, you'll find you get lots of bees drowning. So nice walkway for them to access the syrup. And then as a final thing, if you just take the lid, get a little capful, well, it's not a capful even, half a capful, just dribble that down, and they'll become inquisitive as to what's above their heads. Lid goes on, keeps them in and also keeps pests out, and that's it. There's no need to put anything else on, I don't think. This will protect it from rain. And then hive strap goes back on. Some of the bees are heading in already, the new entrants, but the bulk of the bees are already in with the queen, and they'll go out foraging tomorrow because the forecast is pretty good. If we know it's a mated queen in a colony that's doing well, we put a brick on top. And that's just a thing that I do, I'm sure other people do with house bricks or whatever. But this brick can tell you an awful lot. If you move it to the front, maybe that tells you that this hive rather than this hive wants feeding, or you know, this hive isn't doing so well, or in fact take it off altogether, this hive, the queen needs requeening, she's failed. So it's just a visual indicator as to what's going on in the hive. And as we go, as this builds up, we'll put some hive notes on the side of each hive, but we're doing proper inspections then. Yeah, I think that'll be a good one, that one. Come on. Come on, pup. Come on. Come on. Yes, little girl, Caddy, we've called her. All the other pups have found really good homes, really pleased with where they've gone to, all working homes or people who are, you know, got plenty of time to put into their dog. So they went at the weekend, 5 of them, and we've just got little Caddy left. She was actually the firstborn. We've not kept her for that reason. She's just a very sweet girl, quite timid, but there's another 5 dogs in the house. She'll get used to them. It's always nice to have a puppy around and we can start to train her. She's been introduced to the sheep already, so yeah, busy old time, busy old time. We kept Caddy because, one, there's a little bit of, yes, she was the first puppy out, but she's a really sweet girl, has always been a really sweet girl, and not one that stuck with the others. You know, they would play with as a group and she would be right there by the side of you, so very loyal. She'll be a very loyal dog. As I say, quite timid at the minute, but she'll soon, she's only 3.5 months old, she'll come out of her shell. She plays really well, or runs around with the other dogs. She's fine with chickens. She's shown an interest with the sheep, which is good. Not got her for that particular reason, but it's good to, you know, give them a few skills and so they can be stimulated, you know, rather than just being in the kitchen all the time. Yeah, we obviously moved from puppies in the winter and putting all our attention onto those to move into bees, and those nucleus colonies that we looked at, they now need moving out to new sites, which we've got, and also just filling in spots in our existing apiary. Well, we're in the last few days of March now, a couple of days left, and I predicted there would be an early spring this year, and I think that will still hold true. Even though, you know, we're heading into April, that's traditionally when spring comes, but Temperatures next week are up in the 20s, 22s, 23s, so that'll get the bees motivated and building their nests up nicely. Been round quite a few colonies, just lifting lids and feeling weights of what stores they've got, and they're all in pretty good condition actually. Very pleased with how they've come through winter. I mean, where did March go? It was, you know, we were shivering at times. It's been sunny, been a very, very dry March, but the temperatures, once they start to rise, the bees will be off and running. They're in good shape. Yeah, back in early March, we were making sugar syrup for this particular time. We've started using that on some of the smaller hives, just to stimulate them, really, more than feed. That's been going out in some of the feeders, and they're taking it down really well. So April is up next. That's all about making sure the bees have got enough space, making sure they come out of winter okay, they don't have too much food, which can be a problem for them, where they've been really frugal with the stores, but it's taking up laying space for the queen. And it's the start really, depending on the weather, but if we have a warm period, we'll be into the swarming season, and that's really where we're playing chicken with the bees. We're trying to get them into the biggest colonies that we can without them deciding that they're going to split into two and go somewhere else. So we'll do some manipulations to make them think they've gone through the mechanics of swarming, but actually stayed in the same place. So all that happens in April and May, but it can come really quickly. It's all weather dependent, and if we get a warm spell, the bees will have different ideas than we will have, and maybe start working on an early crop of honey. It's a bit too soon in April, but moving into May, making sure in April they've got all the right numbers of boxes on there to catch the honey, the supers as we call them. Yeah, we should be in good shape in May for a nice spring harvest, and round here with the likes of hawthorn and sycamore, it's a beautiful honey. It doesn't happen every year. It didn't happen last year, but it happened the year before, and it's really well worth trying to source. This is definitely the time of year that we get excited, but also thinking about all the work that's ahead. It becomes a 7-day-a-week job, finishing at 10 o'clock at night some days. So a lot of hard work ahead, but it's going to be well worth it. I can feel it. I can feel it. What do you think, Meg? Hey? Meg agrees. She's a bit more circumspect about these things.